I am Mauricio Vasquez, Director of Programs of the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce of Montgomery County. Today, I am with Marilyn Balcombe, President of the Gaithersburg-Germantown Chamber of Commerce. Marilyn is running for Montgomery County Council representing District 2. Marilyn, welcome. Thank you for being with us
Thank
today.
you. Thank you for having me.
Okay. Marilyn, what inspired you to run for office?
So I run the chamber, and so much of what we do at the Chamber of Commerce has to do with the county as a whole. So land use, zoning, transportation, housing affordability, the economy. It's really an extension of what I do in my day job.
Okay. This is a new district, District 2. Came out of the redistricting that the council did last year. How do you see that impacting your campaign and the representation that the people in District 2, Clarksburg, Poolesville, Germantown will have in the council?
Sure. So with redistricting, we have 2 new seats. District 2 is Germantown, Clarksburg, Poolesville, Darnestown. It's basically my backyard. I've been here for 27 years living in Germantown and feel very, very comfortable about the district. It's the Ag Reserve, it's the I-270 corridor, and it's a great, great community.
What are the main challenges for this community?
In the Up County, we've often felt that we don't have the resources that we need. Up County, we also think about transportation is a big issue, Up County. We don't have the jobs that we need. My solution would be more jobs. That would be the preferred solution. But if we've got people traveling down county, we need better transportation infrastructure. We need more capacity. And it's not just transit. We always talk about transit, but we need roads as well.
And you are a big supporter of the I-270 expansion.
Yes, so as I say, it's all of the above. We absolutely need transit, so I support bus rapid transit. We need increased support for the Marc rail station. We should have two-way Marc rail, but we also need road expansion. We go from, probably 16 lanes on I-270 to 4, and it happens in my district, that funneling, and so we need increased capacity on the roads.
The idea of expanding the Marc Train as well, is that something that it's in the plans in Montgomery County? Is this one of the initiatives that you want to lead if you're elected for county council?
I've been advocating for increased Marc rail system for a very long time, and the glitch is that it's a state issue. The Marc doesn't own the train lines. CSX owns the train lines. It's a freight system. CSX basically operates a freight system, and so we need expanded rail lines. That's a state issue, but I would support that as a priority for the county. It should be one of our top priorities in transportation. We already have heavy rail up all the way to Frederick, and we need to support that and sponsor that.
Are there any other infrastructure projects that you see as priority for the areas in Clarksburg, Poolesville, Up County? Yeah.
Well, one of the very important infrastructure issues is White's Ferry in Poolesville. It's a small little ferry, but it's an important commuter route, and unfortunately, it's stopped right now. So and it's an issue that's on the Virginia side. The county has been very supportive, the state has been supportive, but we need to get that ferry up and running. So that would be one minute one. The council just passed a transit, I-270 corridor forward transit plan, and it included the red line to Germantown. I'm really intrigued by that. That is a long-term, very long-term idea. So, but I think that we should examine that. That doesn't mean that we don't need to fix all the things that we just talked about. So, but yeah, we've got a couple great things happening.
In terms of education, I'm not going to talk just about District 2, but Montgomery County in general, because the public schools in Montgomery County no longer rank among the top in the United States. We used to have prime education. This gap is also affecting minority children, black children. We see greater disparities in the SATs and the math and reading scores between non-minority and minority students. What initiatives do you bring that are going to help bridge this gap and improve education, particularly elementary, middle education in Montgomery County?
Thank you. That's a very important question. We spend so much money on education, and we need to make sure that it's equitable across the board. Everyone should be getting the same high quality education. And when we talk about the gap, I've been in the county for almost 30 years, and we have been talking about the achievement gap for every one of those years, right? It's a problem that is just long persistent. One of the areas that I've been working on through a group called Montgomery Moving Forward is early care and education. So the gap that we see in high schools happens long before high school. We see that gap before kindergarten. So when we look at Montgomery County, there's something like 50% of kids aren't ready for kindergarten. And if they don't catch up by third grade, the chances are they're never going to catch up. So we really need to invest in early education. And that, in my opinion, is generational. So not only do we have to help the children, but we have to help families to make sure that that kids are supported at home in their academic pursuits. So I want to see a significant increase in investment in early education. I think that that's one area where we can make significant progress. But I also want to say that I think that we need to look at this is a county-wide system, yet we have disparities, geographic disparities in the county, and I want to know why. And of course we've been studying this for a very long time, but your education should not be determined by where you live in the county. Every child should have the same high-quality education.
So we've seen a spike in school violence. Mm-hmm. There's been great talk and debate about the school resource officers, children with guns, being able to bring guns at home. This obviously has an impact on the quality of education, mm-hmm. but also on the environment that we have in schools. And we've seen an increase in children not wanting to go to school because of the situation, which has also been exacerbated by the pandemic. Mm-hmm. What steps can the council take, and government in general, to secure the schools and make them the proper environment for children to learn?
Well, I think the bottom line is that schools need to be safe. Children need to make sure that they're not concerned about their safety, and our staff need to be safe. So I know that the school board's looking very closely at what changes need to be made, whether bringing the SROs back or bringing in more mental health services. I think that that's desperately needed. I think that we've come through something really significant in the past 2 years. We all know it as adults. I mean, we've been through this pandemic. We can only imagine how the kids have dealt with it. So we need to, we need to take that seriously. We need to make sure that we are providing our school administrators and our teachers with the resources that they need. And whether that's mental health services, additional mental health staffing, is it increased police presence, law enforcement presence, whatever form that takes, I would want to rely on the school system, the principals, and ask the principals how to best manage their schools. Of course, we have to have a county-wide process. I would first go to the principals and ask the principals what they need to make sure that they feel safe in their schools.
Last census showed a significant increase in the Hispanic population and minority population, especially here up county, Germantown, Gaithersburg, also in Poolesville. What initiatives can the county implement to encourage the inclusion and economic prosperity of these communities, especially here up county?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's really important. One of the things that we found out during the pandemic is that people who were tied in to formal communities got resources. As you know from the Chamber of Commerce, your members received more aid because they were members, because they had access to information. Same thing with my chamber members. So what we discovered was that for those communities that weren't involved in formal business organizations, they were left out. Very often those were minority-owned businesses, immigrant-owned businesses. And so we've looked at that, my chambers looked at that to say, okay, what can we do to remedy that situation? So we got a grant from the Montgomery County Economic Development Corporation, and it's called the Pathways Program, and we brought in 33 women and minority-owned businesses and put them through a training program and gave them membership to the chamber. Because we want to grow that. We want to grow that program. We have to look at inclusion. It's not a matter of opening up our organizations just to open them up, although we should. It's an economic imperative, right? Women, minority-owned, immigrant-owned businesses are the lifeblood of our communities, many of our communities, and so we need to make sure that they are involved and included, and I think it's incumbent on existing organizations to do that on a micro level, but it's also important for the government, the city, the county, the state, the federal government to change their purchasing agreements, their purchasing protocols, policies, to make sure that everybody gets a slice of the pie. And the county's done a very good job of that. We need to do better, but yeah, we have to be more inclusive. And as you said, we're in a very richly diverse area. Ebb County has always been. It's not just been this past census, but we've always been a very diverse community, and we're recognizing that we need to be more inclusive as the Gaithersburg Germantown Chamber.
What would you say is your number one priority if elected to council?
So my number 1, 2, and 3 are jobs, jobs, jobs. Right? That's what we need. We need more jobs. So that's easy to say. Every candidate is going to say we need more jobs, right? We need to do it on several levels. We need to make sure that that Montgomery County is marketing itself, not only regionally but nationally and internationally. We need to market ourselves as a great place to do business, and one of the ways that we do that is through our workforce. We need to make sure that we continue to have a highly educated workforce, a highly skilled workforce. To do that, we need to know what's the jobs of the future and make sure that we're training our kids and coming up through MCPS and Montgomery College, universities at Shady Grove, all have to be part of that system. So from a workforce perspective, from a marketing perspective, we need to make sure that when businesses come here, that the county does everything it can to support that business and help that business expand and grow. We need to have a culture of yes. If a business comes in and has an issue, the county needs to help them solve that issue, as opposed to putting up roadblocks. And so we need to be more business friendly, because it's not just the private sector. It's our tax base. So we talk about how great our county is, and I love Montgomery County. I've been here for almost 30 years. We have good schools. We have safe streets. We provide this very thorough safety net for vulnerable populations. That's who we are. But it takes a lot of money, and we need a strong tax base. We need to make sure that we continue to bring in tax revenue to pay for all the things that we have come to know, and the need is getting greater. So we need to make sure that the tax base grows because our needs are growing. So my priority is jobs, and with that, of course, I'm being a little cheeky about jobs. We need to make sure that we have affordable housing. So our frontline workers need to have jobs. Our police, firefighters, teachers. We found out during the pandemic how critical it is for our healthcare workers to live in our community. And so we have a crisis in affordable housing, and we need to make a change there. So got a lot to do.
There's a lot to be done.
Yeah.
Why is it, in your opinion, that Germantown hasn't realized its potential in bringing more jobs to Montgomery County?
So that's a great question, and we would need about an hour and a half to answer that question. So Germantown is a master plan town. It was a planned town, and there was a balance of residents and jobs and retail. And the residents came and the retail came, but the jobs didn't. So as the CEO of the Gaithersburg Germantown Chamber of Commerce, I've seen such a stark difference between Gaithersburg, which is a municipality, and Germantown, which is not a municipality, and the level of resources for economic development. So in the city of Gaithersburg, the city of Rockville, there is someone or two or three people. Every day they wake up, their job is to bring jobs to the community. We don't have that same focus in Germantown. So we don't have anyone whose responsibility is to bring jobs here. Now, the Montgomery County Economic Development, the Economic Development Corporation, their focus is to bring jobs to Montgomery County overall, but not necessarily Germantown. So I feel like we need to have focused energy on bringing jobs in Germantown. We have the commercial capacity, we have commercial density in Germantown, and when we talk about transportation, the number one way to get cars off of I-270 is to have more jobs in Germantown. So for every job in Germantown, it's one less car at the spur in the morning, right? Going someplace else. So it's an imperative. And so that focus, but also a unique price point. So if a company wants to be near Metro, we can't do anything about that. We don't have Metro, we don't have mass transit in Germantown. So if they're not concerned about being near transit, it's just as easy for them to go up to Frederick. It's cheaper for them to go to Frederick. So we don't have this unique price point of Germantown being that much cheaper than Shady Grove Metro or White Flint Metro. So there's some incentives that we could look at for bringing jobs to Germantown. We have the capacity. It was our master plan was destined to have more jobs, but as you said, it has not come to fruition.
You mentioned affordable housing, and affordable housing is a big sore thumb in Montgomery County. Germantown has the land and maybe a price point that would be more affordable than the southern part of the county. But then we have the problem of transportation. How do you see reconciling affordable housing with the price points and other initiatives to bring more housing to Montgomery County? Yeah,
that's a really good question. And I think housing is probably the most complex issue that we face. So it's basic economics 101. We have a housing shortage. We know we have a housing shortage. So we have to add units at every price point. So, and we have to look at that in conjunction with the transportation. That's why we're in the mess we're in right now. When Clarksburg popped up 10 years ago, 20 years ago, Clarksburg didn't exist. And now we have 30,000 people there with no jobs and no transportation. So we can't do that. We have to stop the building houses where there is no transit options. So the general plan right now going through the county council is Thrive 2050, and that the whole focus of Thrive 2050 is to increase the number of jobs, the number of houses in Montgomery County. So I think that's I think we need to do that. We need to build houses near transit, and we need to build a lot more houses near transit. And that's scary because it's going to change the nature of some areas, but it makes sense to link density with transit. We need to respect existing communities. We need to listen to people who've been here for generations and make sure that we're respectful of their neighborhoods. But we have to add housing. And we need to add housing at all price points, which means that we need to think outside the box in terms of what that housing looks like. And for instance, apartments, there aren't 3 or 4 bedroom apartments. So families can't live in apartments. Apartments are cheaper, condos are cheaper than a single family home or a townhome. So we have to think about what types of homes we're going to be building. So we just need to shake it all up, and we have to have a wider variety of the types of homes and a wider variety of price points for homes. We need to look at home ownership and how we can get people in homes. I know that the council right now is looking at tax credits for police officers to help property tax credits, so that lowers your mortgage, your monthly mortgage payment because of the property taxes. So we have to try all kinds of things to increase housing, because if we don't increase housing, it's just going to get worse. And what's going to happen is we're going to become a wealthier community where none of our employees live here. And what kind of community is that? It's not a community I want to live in. We have a rich, diverse community, and we need to make sure that everyone has access to opportunity, including housing. Housing's such a critical one.
And finally, what would you say to those who are still undecided to vote for you? Why vote for Marilyn Balcombe, District 2?
Yeah, so thank you for that question. Great question. So the council is adding 2 seats. So we're going from 9 council members to 11 council members. And there will be at least 6, my guess is 6, new council members. So it's going to be a big transition. And we need leadership. We need somebody who can hit the ground running. We need somebody who understands the job. I've been working with the county council for most of my time here, certainly the past 16 years at the chamber. And I understand what that job is, and I have every faith that I can do that job very well. But we also need leaders. We need leaders on the council. And I have a long history of leading my community. And so I am the person for the job.
Well, Marilyn, thank you so much for being with us. We appreciate your thoughts and your candid responses. We wish you the best.
Great.
And best of luck for the upcoming primaries in July 19th.
July 19th. And thank you for doing this. I think one of the issues is we need people to make an educated choice. So thank you for your role in this.